Hey up everybody and welcome back to the Audio Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Tour de la Provence. The race starts tomorrow. I was going to record this last night, but I was just very busy. And it's an interesting race. It's only 3 days long, so it's going to be vitally important just to really focus on trying to get the winner of each stage. I think it's a largely sprinter orientated race. I don't know why I'm looking at Sam Bennett in particular. Taking a look at the stage profiles. First stage from Marseille to Saint-Victor. Quite a lot of climbing meters in here, especially, a lot of longer climbs, I would say. The press releases of teams seem to say that this is going to be a sprint. Whether you want to believe in that or not, I'm not too sure. In theory, I think this looks pretty tough. I think that certainly some sprinters who are a bit better at climbing will fancy themselves to get a victory here. It's also worth noting, as it says, there's a dangerous section here, so who knows what will happen there. Probably Mohoric will attack. I would say that Mohoric is somebody like a good candidate for today. One thing that does favour the sprints is that it is going to be good weather. I have actually looked at this because the Tour de la Provence last year was just biblical weather, whereas it's very calm, it's sunny, and it's not going to be that windy either. So I think, yes, there is still a possibility of a sprint, but certainly a tough breakaway could get away and win here and hold on GC for the whole rest of the race. But predicting that is going to be incredibly difficult to do. But we might point out some of those riders along the way. Stage 2, we saw this finish last year to Manosque. I think Pedersen was up against Zingler. And yeah, it's pretty tough, with lots of repeated climbs in the finale in the last 1 kilometre, averaging 4%. So I think it's not going to be for the pure sprinters, it's going to be more for the puncher style sprinters. And then stage 3 from Rognac to Arles is the more pure flat sprint day with no real threat of crosswinds, because the wind speed is at like less than 10 miles an hour, so that's pretty chill. Taking a look at the riders, obviously Pedersen is back, 26 credits. Those of us who selected him for the Etoile de Bessèges, very much let down. He's had gastric problems in that race. Whether he's recovered from those, I have absolutely no idea. In theory, Pedersen is a very good choice for this race if he is in really good form, because he could very well win all 3 stages. But because of that gastric problem, which was all of like a week ago, I just don't know how much confidence I have in Pedersen for this race, especially when you have other riders who could do very well. I think there's a lot of good values, say, between 20 credits to 10 credits, and you might be better off stacking up those sorts of riders rather than going with Pedersen, because that will mean you have to pick quite a few lower priced riders, of which, spoiler alert, there's not many. So Pedersen's definitely got a question mark, but I know that people will probably still pick him, and that's perfectly fine. I feel like you're taking a little bit of a risk on hoping that he's fully fit, but if he is, he'll be very dangerous. Mohoric, according to Bahrain Victorious' press release, is like a co-leader or the first helper for Govakar, who's going to be the leader of the team. So Mohoric, quite expensive, I suppose, for a domestique, but I still feel like he could be really dangerous on that first day. Bahrain Victorious can throw up some smoke and mirrors in their press releases, and I definitely feel like Mohoric could launch a bit of a flyer on that first day. I think he can also be competitive on that second day, and so I still think that he's a good choice. I don't think he will be very highly selected, so if you're looking for a differential, probably go for Mohoric. I think that he could definitely be up there in GC, and that he just goes a little bit rogue sometimes, so I still think he's a good choice. I'd say the safest option of any rider is to go with Marijn van den Berg, because he's in good form. He's got the whole team around him, and every single one of the stages suits him, so perfectly good choice, as is Paul Pinoet, for the exact same reasons as Van den Berg. He's pretty decent at climbing, and he is the leader for the team, so another good choice there. Ackermann, it really depends whether you think he can survive the climbs. He is an okay climber, but it just depends whether you think that he can survive that stage 1 and 2. I think he's got a good team around him, and it really depends on the pace of the race, but Ackermann could certainly be quite a good choice. I would say, on balance, he's a better choice than Bennett is, just because Bennett wasn't looking that great of a Etoile de Bessèges. Schoins at 16 credits. I mean, if Pedersen isn't in good form and Schoins absolutely goes hammer and tongs in stage 1, I think that he could be a really dangerous threat for GC. His problem is that his sprint isn't that great, so likely on stages 2 and 3, even if he were to do really well in stage 1, he won't be getting that many points in the second or third stage. Raul Garcia Piana, I think he'll be leading the team. They don't seem to have a sprinter here as far as I can tell, so I expect them to make the race pretty hard, and I think that he's a very dangerous rider. He was top 10 in this race last year, so I think that he's certainly an okay pick. The other two 14 credit riders are both decathlon riders, so it really depends how you judge Sam Bennett. I think that Godon could be a better pick for them than Bennett. I think that he will survive stage 1 and stage 2 better than Bennett will, and maybe they go with Bennett for the sprint in stage 3. So I definitely think that Godon could perhaps be their kind of secret weapon that they're not revealing too much about. Gotelat, I think, is just going to be a domestique for either one of those two. 12 credit riders. Anya Kowski will be the sprinter for Cofidis, so no problems there. I think that's a good choice. Jake Stewart, if you don't think that Ackerman will make it in a similar way to Bennett, you could go with Jake Stewart. Jake Stewart is to Ackerman what Dorian Godon is to Sam Bennett, in my opinion. Then you're into the 10s, where things start to get a little bit of a crossover. So you've of course got Brouillard, who did well in the Etoile de Bessèges, especially up the Montbouquet. Depends how you think that stage 1 is going to go. Costu was top 10 in this race last year. Again, whether he'd do that good outside of stage 1, I'm not too sure. I think he was top 10 in the stage 2 profile last year, so maybe he could get some points there, but probably not too much on that last day. Total Energies have Mathieu Bergadeau and also Sandu Dujardin. I thought Dujardin looked pretty good in the Etoile de Bessèges, and I think that he could be very good here. You know, he was actually sprinting to top 10s in Bessèges, and I think that punchy finish on stage 2 is really suited to him as well. So I think that he's a good candidate for a top 10. Obviously, Govakar is touted as the leader of Bahrain Victoria, so at 10 credits, that's a really good pick. Lukasz Kubish for Unibet Tietma Rockets. He's a good sprinter. He was top 10 in that first stage of the Etoile de Bessèges. He is likely to be their sprinter, so I think that he's also a good pick. Fred Wright is like a third leader for Bahrain Victoria, so if that's kind of your thing. The 8 credit riders, you got Matthias Kopecky. He's the sprinter for Novo Nordisk, so a little bit more of a budget pick. Jeremy Leclerc is also a sprinter for Saint Michel, so certainly worthwhile noting him as well. And honestly, other than those, there's not too much to be going at. Possibly, if Pedersen isn't in good form, they might sprint with Gibbons instead. But that's really clutching at straws there, to be honest with you. 6 credit riders. Van Rysel seemed to have a few sprinters in this race. One of them is a right arm. He's one of them. I think he's the Estonian champion at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jorgen Blom is a very good sprinter. He got a few top 10s in the Sibiu Tour last year against some okay competition, so he might be their sprinter or a lead-out man for Kubish for sure. You have Sander van Pestel can sprint okay, but he's up against a lot of his own teammates who are also quite good. I would say that Thibaut Gruel is a very good pick for 6 credits. He was top 10 in the Britannia Classic last year. He's a very good climber, actually, and I think that he should be the lead-up man for Pinoe and therefore might get a top 15 in GC, or if Pinoe's dropped, he might sprint for his own opportunities. So Gruel is pretty good. Guglielmi will probably be like top 20 GC, especially if a race turns out to be a little bit more attritional. And yeah, or maybe he gets him a breakaway, actually. That could also be a very good shout. Other riders. Tabellion, actually, for Van Rysel-Roubaix, he was top 15 in a few sprints in the Etoile de Bessèges. He was climbing okay as well, so I think that he should be getting some top 10s as well. And that's it for the 6 credit riders. Obviously, there are riders in here who could very well get in the breakaway, but I'm not too sure who those riders are. I haven't looked specifically at all of the riders' frequency of breakaways, but yeah, there could be ones in there that you might want to pick for sure. You might have to do your own kind of research on that, sorry. And then into the fours, honestly, there's not that much to be going at. Boniface might sprint on that final day. That's really the only one I see him going for. Fontaine for the assist points on Penoe, who should be getting some top threes. Oliver Knight was 10th in the TT in Tour de Bessèges, so he's in decent form. So you could go with him for sure. Mifsud was top 10 in the Mont Bouquet stage, so he's obviously a good climber. Possibly he gets in the breakaway in stage 1. Schwarzman would be a very good pick for just the assist points on maybe Ackermann, Israel Premier Tech finishing up there in Team GC. I think that they should be top 3 at least, or maybe top 5 in Team GC, so he could get points there. And there is one other rider, I think it's Antoine Hugh, who he'll be revealed in my team in a few seconds, so I'll be able to correct myself, but I think he's been getting in the breakaway quite a bit, or he got in the break once in Etoile de Bessèges, and he was in the break a lot last year, so you could go with him. That would be my recommendation, is to look at breakaway riders, because you may as well at this point, you could go safe and get 20 assist points, but it might be better to try and find those riders who might get in the break on the first day, because that could get you a few more points. I think it was Anton Hugh. That's good. Anyway, so this is my team. Paul Penoe, Marlene Vandenberg. I'm taking the risk on Ackermann at the moment. Dujardin and Govakar, I think those are good value at 10 credits. Sasha Veymas, oh actually I forgot to mention him. Good sprinter for Wagner Bazin, unless he wasn't there, unless he's been taken out. It looks like he's been taken out, so I'll probably have to replace him for Tabellion. Gruel, Kubish, and Antoine Hugh just for the breakaway points. You know, I could definitely swap things around. I have been tempted to not go with Ackermann and potentially swap him down to, you know, I could get Aniokowski in there, and then I could go with, you know, upgrade one of these riders up to an 8 or a 10 or something like that. I don't really know who that person would be. I mean, you could get like Pierre Barbier in there, for example. That might be an okay idea, something like that. Just basically filling it out with as many sprinters as I can at the moment. But let me know what you're thinking in the comment sections down below. Also, wall charts still available. I'll probably put up a picture of mine filled out so far. We're up to obviously the Tour of Oman. You know, we're halfway through the stage race championship. We're halfway through the warm-up championship, so it's just a really good way of keeping track of your warm-up championship score, and just having it in like an analog fashion just looks really nice for you to look back on at the end of a warm-up championship to see who your really good and potentially really bad picks were throughout the warm-up championship. So go and check out the link in the description. It'll be the first thing in there. And yeah, all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Salut!